she know she's muted or? Fixed it.
Okay, can everybody hear me now? Awesome. Sorry about that. People are still joining, so that's great that I have to start over. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go back to.
Okay. And Yenny, I'll handle the late arrivals.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So thank you for being here. This presentation, this non-mandatory presentation pre-proposal meeting is for the request for proposals for providing as needed services for the implementation of the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebate Program for single family homes, which is Section 50122 of the IRA here in New Mexico. My name is Yane Maestas, and I am a Clean Energy Program Manager here at ECMD, but I'm also the Procurement Manager for this request for proposals. And on behalf of the New Mexico Energy Conservation and Management Division, I'd like to let everyone know that this meeting will be recorded. This presentation will be published on our website for your reference. And also, if you would like to be notified about any amendments for this RFP and any upcoming RFPs from ECMD, please enter your email address in the chat. I have requested from teams that an attendance log be given to me at the end of this presentation, but sometimes it doesn't always work. So just please enter your email, and then that way we have something in the chat. And we'll just get started first with the scope of this procurement. We'll go over the RFP. Again, this is as needed services for the implementation of the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebates program for single family homes. We're calling it HERE program. For single family homes, again, this is the 50122 section of the Inflation Reduction Act. And just a quick overview of this procurement, ECMD may award multiple contracts resulting from this RFP. The contract resulting from this RFP will not exceed 4 years. So we have 4 years to complete the work for HERE. For the proposal contents, please pay attention to what's listed on the RFP and include all the items, because failure to follow the guidelines will disqualify your proposal on the grounds of non-responsiveness, and we don't want to do that. And work will be assigned on an as-needed basis by means of task order, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Proposals are due electronically Thursday, March 21st, 2024 at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you're in New York, you're 2 hours ahead. If you're in California, you're 1 hour behind New Mexico's daylight savings time, just to clarify. The procurement will be submitted to me, Jenny Maestas, and there is my email to where you're gonna submit your proposal, and my phone number if there's any questions. And all your proposals must be submitted in PDF format via email. The last day to submit any questions regarding this proposal or this procurement is going to be February 29, 2024, which is next week at 3 p.m. Get Mountain Time, Daylight Savings Time. The Q&A will be posted on our website at the link below, and we will do our due diligence to try and get those questions answered as soon as possible. Again, proposals due are going to be on Thursday, March 21st, 2024 at 3 p.m. And I will be emphasizing that date in the upcoming slides. This is kind of the overview of the assigned points. You can find that on your RFP. we put a lot of points, 40% of the points towards the project approach and the technical capabilities of your company. We really want to see how you're going to implement the scope of work for a successful HERE program implementation. So that's where we want to see a lot of creativity, a lot of effectiveness in your approach. So we put 40% of the points towards that evaluation factor. And then the second most weighted evaluation factor is the record of past performance. So we put 30% of the points towards that. And what we really want to see is any experience that you may have with other Department of Energy programs. So if you have experience with solar rebates program, make sure to include that in there, or any other government agency. Doesn't necessarily have to be the Department of Energy, right? So, and then the next one is capacity and capability. And we want to see that you have enough staff and enough manpower, in a matter of speaking, to undertake the scope of work. And then proximity and familiarity, all we want to see there is that you have some sort of expertise and experience in projects in this part of the U.S., in the southwestern part of the U.S., as it relates to the scope of work. We all know that New Mexico has very specific needs that are exclusive to New Mexico. So we just want to see that particular proximity and familiarity showcase. And then finally, your references, and we are asking for 3 references, and there's a questionnaire that must be filled out and then sent to me, either snail mail or email. Probably best way to do that is email. Okay, again, the proposal contents, you're going to have your letter of transmittal at the very beginning, and then followed by your table of contents, then deliverable space budget, a statement of financial stability and or equivalent, past project experience, and then finally your approach to successful and effective HERE program implementation. And please do not forget to include the following items in your proposals, or you will be deemed non-responsive. A letter of transmittal that includes a statement of acknowledgement for all, if any, amendments, your campaign contribution disclosure form, which is attached to the RFP, and statement of assurances form, which is also attached in the RFP. Again, I am the procurement management, and here's my contact information. My name is Jenny Maestas. My title is Clean Energy Program Manager. My phone number is 505-795-2381. And my email is yenny.maestas@emnrd.nm.gov. Okay, now we're going to get into the HERE program overview. I would like to emphasize that we have, as the state of New Mexico, has a very ambitious timeline to implement the HERE program and to have something working and ready for testing by August 2024, but we really want to make it available to the public by Labor Day 2024. So just keep that in mind when writing your proposal, because we do realize this is a very ambitious timeline. So again, just a quick program overview. The HERE program is just one of the sections of the Inflation Reduction Act from the year 2022. I'm proud to say that New Mexico is part of a cohort of states to apply for and implement first. So again, all eyes are on us. It's very exciting. The main goals of really the IRA, but also of the HERE program, is to save households money, grow American manufacturing and clean energy jobs, and fight climate justice. New Mexico has been allocated a little bit over $40 million for home energy rebates. And I'd like to emphasize that of those $40 million, we have up to 20% for admin cost. It must not exceed 20% admin cost, and that includes our cost, the state of New Mexico cost. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few more slides. So New Mexico is only focusing on, for the HERE program, is only focusing on households that have an area median income of 80% or less. And we also aim to hit, to comply with the Environmental Justice 40 communities and requirements. So other states may be doing differently. New Mexico is only focusing on people who earn less than 80% of the area median income. And the rebates are going to be applied at the point of sale, example, at the register or on a contractor's invoice. Some of the qualifying appliances for this program may include induction cooktops, heat pumps, electric water heaters, electric clothes dryer. There's a full list in the Department of Energy website that we can refer to for a full list of approved appliances. And then we move on to the scope of work for this RFP. Okay. So the general responsibilities, for the general responsibilities, we will be assigning the work via task order. And the way that we envision working via task order is we issue the task order with the scope of work that we want you to perform. And then you send back a document with your cost schedule, your approach to the scope of work and your timeline. Then we review that and then we give it back to you as questions, clarifications, etc. And then you respond to us with all those clarifications and questions, and then we issue notice to proceed. Of course, you know, the reason why we want to do that is because we want to try and maintain as much control of the scope of work and schedule as possible. And then move on to the next question. All media inquiries shall be referred to ECMD. So if you get contacted by any newspaper or news channel or whatever regarding the implementation of this program, all of that shall be referred to us. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Must not exceed 20% of funds for planning, administration, and technical assistance. This also includes the state costs. The remaining funds will be for rebates for the purchase of high efficiency electric home appliances. Of course, we want to keep this number at under 20% because less money we spend on administration, then we can offer more rebates to more New Mexicans. Okay, for the implementation services, we have the general responsibilities, which I just talked about, and then we break it down into three areas, which is the pre-launch assessments, and then we go into the development, the actual implementation and management of the HERE program, and then finally everything that comes afterwards, monitoring and post-implementation assessments. For the pre-launch, for the HERE program pre-launch, we would need to do, and this is straight from the RFP, we would need to do, conduct utility bill risk assessments before any project begins to determine if there's a risk of utility rising cost for single family homes. And then, of course, you know, we'll need assistance with income verification. We have made it we'll give you the list when the time comes, but basically a 1040 will suffice, or I mean means tested benefit documentation. And then of course marketing, training, and education materials for homeowners, tenants, retailers, and contractors. And this is prior to launching of the program. Then finally we get into the development, implementation, and management of the HERE program. And that's going to include collaboration with supportive entities. And this is a very important point because it's going to be a lot of collaboration. It's going to be with us, the state, the Department of Energy, could include the utilities, contractors, retailers, the public, etc. The data gathering reporting as requested by us or the Department of Energy. And of course, we have to follow Environmental Justice 40 requirements, consumer protection plan, customer service. We have to verify that proper installation of equipment, quality control, and the tracking of rebates. And then for the training, managing and compensating of contractors, we're gonna need to develop a list of certified contractors that will also be need to be trained and certified. We will also collaborate on reviewing contractor invoices and work with contractors to reduce cost of projects and negotiate price. Implement incentives for contractors. We have incentives up to $500. Ensure contractors follow appliances installation standards. Technical assistance for homeowners for us in the Department of Energy as needed. And of course, work with retailers to implement coupon development and delivery procedures. Remit payment to contractors and vendors for used rebate coupons, and remove contractors from the list who are not in compliance. And for monitoring and post-implementation assessments, which is after the implementation happened, after we have exhausted all of our rebates and we're ready to make sure that it's working or not working, but hopefully it's working, by conducting assessment to address deficiencies to achieve continuous improvement, coordinate with utilities to obtain energy consumption data, coordinate the HERE program with other utilities, state, and non-duplicating federal benefits program, data sharing to help track market transformation, and conduct customer satisfaction surveys as requested by us. If you are going to have any kind of sub-consultant under contract with you, you will need to be a little bit familiar with the federal procurement laws. So I highly encourage all people who are going to have subcontractors to read and get familiar with 2 CFR 200.318 through 326. But basically, because we are using federal funds, we are seeking to eliminate unfair competitive advantage. And also you, the consultant, must take all the necessary affirmative steps to assure that minority businesses, women business enterprises, and labor surplus area firms are being used when possible. We may ask you, EC&D may ask you to provide evidence of competitive procurement for any subcontract, including records of advertised bid, proposals received, and methods that you use to select your subcontractor or subcontractors. And of course, any subcontract agreement shall include all the provisions necessary to allow contractor to meet its obligations and requirements. And please do not forget to register for the unique entity ID with SAM.gov. If you are not registered with SAM.gov, you will not be able to, we will not be able to pay you, basically. So, and I know that it's taking a few weeks to get that number up and going. I don't know if it's gotten any better, but contractors were having trouble getting their number in a timely manner. So please do not forget to register for your UEI number. Okay, and we are moving on to our amendment number 1. We have received some questions in writing that we have tried our best to answer, and here is the first questions that we received. Is the state seeking any assistance through this contract for the planning phase of the program, or is it solely for the implementation? And our answer is yes. We are requesting proposals for the management and implementation of the Inflation Reduction Act Home Electrification and Appliance Rebates program for single-family homes, and this includes planning. Question number 2. The RFP mentions the use of task orders so that ECMD can assign work to the awardee of this procurement. Can the state please confirm if the states within the implementation and management services section will correlate with the expected task orders? The answer is yes. Can the state please clarify more details regarding your expectations for pricing? Is there a particular format or template that should be used? And our answer is an hourly rate for the staff to work on the statement of work is acceptable. No template required. Offeror may use a template of their choosing as long as the budget line items correlate with the grant items. So, okay, Question number 4. Given the similarities and potential efficiencies, can the state please confirm how it plans to administer the homes program? Is a separate procurement RFP planned for the homes program? The answer is, although there are extensive similarities and potential efficiencies between 50121 and 50122 due to Department of Energy rules, the state must establish and maintain separate grant programs, including separate billing. The state will be issuing a separate RFP for 50121. However, the state plans to offer the program simultaneously and whenever possible through similar, if not identical, venues. There's a lot of overlap, and ECMD encourage everyone to submit a proposal for section 50121. And we'll talk a little bit about that. As per the RFP, the letter of transmittal requires explicitly indicate acceptance of the terms and conditions of this RFP and its evaluation factors. Once a vendor is selected, would the state be willing to engage in good faith negotiation to arrive at a reasonable and mutually agreeable terms and conditions for the engagement? The answer is yes, as long as all terms and conditions adhere to DOE rules and state laws and codes. Is there a contradiction between the above? There is a contradiction between the above two sections in the RFP with regard to business references needed. One section requires 3 business references. The other one indicates 2 business references. Can you please clarify which is required? I'm sorry about that typo. It is 3 business references are required. Okay. And I would just like to give everyone a heads up about upcoming related requests for proposals here with ECMD related to 50121 and 50122. We have our HERE program implementation for multifamily RFP homes meeting on Monday, this Monday, coming Monday at 10 a.m. And for that RFP, the proposals are due March 28th, 2024 at 3 p.m. Again, this is Mountain Time, Daylight Savings Time. And we have another RFP for energy coaches coming soon. We have an IT RFP for this implementation, for the implementation of these programs also coming soon. And then, as previously mentioned, we will be doing the same kind of procurement, the same kind of RFPs for the IRA section 50121 home energy rebates program, also coming soon. We call it HERE. HERE in here, that's not confusing at all. Okay. Well, thank you. And if you guys have any questions or comments, I open the floor.
Then you have a comment or question in the chat.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. Chat. Okay, so we have a question. Who is developing the list of certified contractors, and what is their certification process? How is that communicated to the state? So the consultant, you are developing the list of certified contractors. And what is their certification process? Do you have any
requirements?
There's requirements for the certification process.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And how is that communicated to the state? How do you envision that?
They should submit it for us to certify the list that they have completed their training and that they comply.
Can you provide a template for the subcontracting plan, or the same template used on the SBLO manual? I can look for a template that might work for us, and we can get back to you on that. We understand there is a 20% cap on administration, including the state's portion. What percentage does the state intend to reserve for the state's function in this program? And Jeremy, I think you might have an answer for that.
I sure do. Presently, we've reserved 10.5%.
You referenced that an RFP for technology platform is coming. Does that mean that here proposals should not include costs for technology platform? I think that you whatever it's on the scope of work. If there's an item for technology platform, which I don't think there is, it should always reference to the scope of work. New
Yanni,
Mexico has. Yes.
Sorry to jump up. There was a question that got skipped. If you scroll up a little bit, there are a number of envelope improvements.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. There are a number of envelope improvements listed in attachment 1. These should fall under 50121 rather than 50122. Do you plan to include these measures in the program? No, I think that was mostly for reference of just an example of what we were gonna need, but you're right. You're right. It applies to the 50121. Okay, move on to the next one. New Mexico has been allocated about 44 million for 50121. What percentage of that would go towards single family versus multifamily? That's a great question. Jeremy?
Yeah, happy to answer that. For both the here and the her, we have the same method for this one. We have 75% going towards single family and 25% going towards multifamily.
And I'll just, add a caveat into all of that, in that because we're being aggressive with the timeline and because we're among the first, we do not have full approval from DOE on our proposal yet. So that and many other things are subject to change based on, if the DOE has any tweaks that they would prefer to see on the ground.
Is there a link for this presentation? You may have provided it, but I'm not seeing it. Yes, there will be a link. It will be uploaded in the same page where the RFPs are published. So we will upload the presentation and the slideshow to that same page as pointed out in the RFP. Next question. You noted that New Mexico is focused on participant less than 80% AMI. Have you determined categorical eligibility validation options the state would accept? Yes, and I will let Puck add to whatever I have to say after. But yes, basically, we have decided that we will accept tax returns that show less than 80 AMI in any means tested document that any means tested benefit document that they may receive. So if they get food stamps, if they are I don't remember what other means tested benefits, SNAP, Medicaid. There's a whole list that we will provide. Do you have anything else to add, Puck?
Yeah, that we are trying to make this pain point less painful. We are not accepting self-attestation. And we are accepting if you can prove that you are in a federal program that has the same income requirements, in other words, 80% AMI or less, then that proof of registration in that federal program, for example, TANF, would qualify, but there are some other federal programs that do not because they have different verification. So all in all, there's 3 buckets. There's the similar federal programs, and there's about 15 different of them that would automatically make you eligible. Then bucket number 2 is, yes, producing your 1040, and bucket number 3 is checking payroll and calls to employers.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Can the tax return be provided by the applicant, or do they need to be obtained via the IRS tax transcript program? I don't think we've had those conversations about requiring the IRS tax transcript program. And we always envision the tax return be provided by the applicant.
Let me
But
complicate
it
that
is an
actually,
option.
Jenny. Yeah, it
Go
is an
ahead.
option. So either. So it could be provided by the applicant or through IVES.
Again, and the next question is, can you clarify whether the state budget is 10.5% of the full budget, or is it 10.5% of the administrative portion? And Jeremy answered, for clarification, the state budget is 10.57% of the full budget. Okay. Next question. Do you plan to release the technology RFP prior to the closing date for this RFP so that bidders can determine what the overlap is between these two RFPs?
No.
So we are,
We,
go ahead.
we would love to make that possible, but the technology RFP is very complicated and there's no way we can get that out the door before this one is due. But the goal is there's very little overlap.
And all of these questions will be, because they are in writing, they will be posted as an amendment on our website. So please, again, be sure to acknowledge all the amendments. And if there's any other questions that come up between now, between today and when questions are due, please send them to me and we will get those questions answered and published. Again, just where you found the PDF of the RFP on our website. Okay, next question. Okay, regarding the scope of work vendor selection process, section 4, item F, how vendors will be selected. What is the definition of vendor? Does this process refer to the installation contractor who will work on the program? Section 4, item. Is that part of the scope of work vendor selection?
We can review it and get back to them later.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get back to you on that question because I'm a little unclear if it's in the language from the sample contract, which I also encourage everyone to review and get familiar with the sample contract that's attached to the RFP. Are there any other questions? Should contractor incentives be considered as part of the rebate?
Yeah, we have provisions for that, yes.
Did everyone catch that? Okay.
Jenny, we couldn't hear that answer.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, we do have provisions for considering the incentives
As part of the rebate.
as part of the rebate program.
But is it part of the rebate?
It's part of
Versus-
the rebate delivery.
Yeah, the rebate delivery, not necessarily, not the rebate, but the process of delivering it is part of that.
I think is the question, is the contractor incentives in the rebate bucket or the administrative cost bucket? Is that what the question is? Okay, Jeremy, you
Nope.
can answer that one.
Yeah, the incentives are part of the rebate funds, specifically rebate delivery.
Are there any geographical participation targets? If you're talking about the New Mexico preference, no, because we're using federal funds. Okay, I think I skipped one question. Given the state is using 10.57% of the full budget, what support services administrative resources will be provided to the selected vendors?
I think we need to get back and clarify.
Okay. Do you mean like from the state?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll make
okay.
a note. Okay, good. Do you plan on requiring the winning bidder to float rebate payments, or will they be provided funds upfront to distribute? If they are required to pay them in advance of being reimbursed, how soon would they be reimbursed? Puck, I think you can take that.
Yeah, I can take this one. So this is the $64,000 question, right? We recognize that asking the winning bidder to float is potentially a large financial ask. So we are coming up with creative ways to either reduce or avoid that as much as possible. And the question is, how soon would they be reimbursed? Our goal is, we haven't yet set up the systems, and it much depends on who bids and also the IT portion of it. But our goal is a net 30 or significantly much less, 2 weeks potentially for reimbursement.
So I'm going to go back to that question. Are there geographical participation targets? And I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Referring to rebates allocation or resident participation throughout the New Mexico's various counties. So we have targets, and feel free to add to this, Puck and Harold. We do have, and we really want to, do as much work as we can in the environmental justice 40 communities, and rural communities within, we had this conversation about rural versus metro areas. And so we do have geographic targets that we want to meet.
The whole state is considered a disadvantaged community except for Los Alamos County. So we would strive to cover as many counties as possible.
And let me answer
I'm
this.
sorry,
also.
can you please repeat that? We're having a hard time hearing the person in the background.
He said that the whole state of New Mexico is considered a disadvantaged community with the exception of Los Alamos County. And so we would, that's the target, I guess.
And what we don't, the reason we're stumbling is we don't have explicit geographical targets. What we do have is the dual goal of reducing utility bills as much as possible and also reducing carbon emissions as much as possible. And so if those are your goals and you do the math and you work with the housing stock data, you will find that that drives you to certain geographies for the most efficient work. For example, replacing propane houses or propane fueled houses in the northern counties, which are colder, ticks both those goals, the carbon emission goal and the reducing utility rates goals. So it's an indirect geographic target, but no, we don't have explicit geographic targets per se.
Okay. Any other questions? Like I said, you guys still have one more week to submit any questions via email. Oh, there's one more. Should bidders assume that the technology platform can support all front-end, resident and contractor facing plus retail, POS plus back-end data based off record capabilities? All PNNL flows APIs will be supported by the technology platform. We do have, provisions. We will have provisions in the IT RFP for incorporating the PNNL platforms and APIs. And it is the goal it is our goal to make sure that it supports all front ends and integrates and collaborates with any other software or program that may come up as part of this implementation process. And Rebecca, please feel free to add to my answer.
Yeah, the short answer is yes. The reason you're hearing us coach a little bit is because depending on who bids on this RFP and who bids on the IT RFP, the boundary between the two might sway slightly one way or the other. But in short, yes, the IT RFP will include everything that Alyssa outlined.
Okay, so if there are no further questions at this time, I'm just going to go ahead and thank everyone for being here today. We're very, very excited to get these programs off the ground, and we have a lot of work coming for the state of New Mexico for electrification efforts. So again, we have a very aggressive timeline, but if we work together, I think that that's very achievable. We are very, very grateful for the turnout. And again, you guys have until next week to submit your questions, and until next month to submit your proposal. And I hope to see you all on Monday at 10 a.m. for the multifamily RFP meeting.
And just we should leave the channel open for a minute. Just a friendly reminder, we're trying to capture all your email addresses using Teams, but just to be sure, if you want to receive updates, please drop your email in the chat and we'll leave the chat open for a few minutes.
But other than that, yeah, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.